time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. It's almost October. It's got that smell in the air. Playoff baseball is here. We'll talk about that a little later on with some postseason predictions as the playoffs get underway today. By the time you have seen this show, obviously some of it will have already started and gotten underway. We'll get into that. There is tons of NFL to talk about. I said Tuesdays we were going to go heavy on the NFL because we've got so much left over from the weekend. And then you have two Monday night games last night, which I cannot stand this Monday night doubleheader thing. Sammy Arnell is here. Do you like the Monday night double? I don't like it because I can't watch both games at the same time. I don't have the split screen. I don't have my YouTube TV anymore. I can't stand it.
Well, that's on you. I wish I didn't have to watch both these games on the same screen last night.
Oh, my God. I know.
To answer your question rhetorically, no, stop the doubleheaders if these are the games you're going to keep rolling out.
I know.
Gosh, man. If you were giving me the Bills against, you could even give me the Bills against nobody and an AFC West divisional matchup.
Okay.
And that would be great.
But here's the thing.
What we saw last night was bad TV, Jason.
But here's the thing. Before the season starts, you still think Jets-Dolphins early enough in the season is going to be a game that has some sort of merit to it, that there's going to be something good about it early in the season, because the Jets will not yet be as bad as they have been, you don't think. And with the Dolphins, I don't think anybody thought an 0-3 start out of the gate was what they would have. Bengals, same thing. You're the young quarterback in Bo Nix and Joe Burrow, and those two teams won a playoff team last year. This one's supposed to be a playoff team. Nobody knows Joe Burrow's going to go down after week 2. So from a scheduling standpoint, I can't kill them that bad because before the season starts, if I had pointed to those, you wouldn't have thought they'd be as bad as they were last night. Fair?
To an extent.
Come on. You want to agree with me. You know you want to.
Well, no, that's why I said to an extent, right? Because you are right, but at the same time, it's not necessarily speaking ill of the schedule makers, right? Or the computer at this point. There aren't actual people who sit down and make it. But regardless, it's more speaking towards the NFL as a whole and the fact that there is such a talent discrepancy, right? I know that the Bengals have gone through hell and high water, but the fact that they can put such a poor product on the field
I get it.
Between four teams, that's the upsetting part.
We'll get to the Bengals in the next segment. I want to talk about what happened with Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins win, but they lose Hill easily for the season, and who knows if he'll ever play another game. Not just for the Dolphins, but for anybody. And I'm not saying that I don't think that's hyperbolic when you consider the injury he suffered last night. Tore one of the CLs. He also suffered the dislocated knee, torn ligaments. I mean, this was bad. This was really bad. And gruesome. Just absolutely gruesome to watch. But the Dolphins still get a win. So let's talk about it first from the Tyreek point of view. And by the way, I don't need to see all you ghouls online who are sitting there saying, oh, karma, and he got what's coming to him. I don't need to see that crap. I mean, take a look in the mirror. If you want to sit there and go after a guy who literally probably just had his career ended with the injury he suffered last night, regardless of what you think of Tyreek Hill, that is not the time. And for you to think that you're better than Tyreek when you're typing that stuff from your parents' basement, take a look in the mirror. Seriously. But Sam, give me your thoughts on what we saw last night from the Tyreek Hill perspective, and then we can talk about the Dolphins getting their first win.
Yeah, listen, regardless of your living situation, I think that you and I agree, as many people out there should, as everybody should. That injury was so hard to watch. I would not wish it on my worst enemy, the worst human being in the world. I would not wish for their leg to go that direction.
No.
So I was luckily watching this game with my girlfriend, who is a medical professional, and when she saw the injury, she was like, oh yeah, his knee's dislocated. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's just a knee dislocation. So what does that mean? So like, he didn't tear his ACL or anything? And then she laughed. Because it's like a torn ACL.
Yes.
They're like, throw any letter in front of the CL. Apparently he tore it, because you can't dislocate your knee without tearing multiple ligaments.
Correct.
So disgusting, disturbing. You feel for Tyreek Hill, who, like, you know, I know the last however many months haven't been great for him with the Dolphins organization, but the entire story around that organization was, where are they going to trade him to? And it was most likely going to be a Super Bowl contender. Now, you know, like you said, Jason, it's a question of does he come back, not when. It's does he, because, you know, it's Tyreek Hill. It's a guy whose legs are his
speed.
career.
Exactly. His speed is everything, and there's no way you come back from that with the speed that you had, which that explosiveness is what made Tyreek Hill.
You're seeing it play out this season up in New England with Stephon Diggs, and that's not even a guy who is he's explosive in a different way, but he's not anywhere near as fast as Tyreek Hill is. It is going to be such a mountain for this guy who is on the back half of his career to come back. I don't think it'll be with the Dolphins unless they extend him an NBA style, like, you know, we feel bad for you kind of contract, which the NFL is not ever want to do.
Yeah.
So it's horrible, man. Could not be a worse situation. And the online gremlins went crazy yesterday.
My God. Can we just move away from that for a second and just say this, though? Darren Waller can still play football. Who the hell knew? I mean, he retired. I mean, if I was playing for the Giants, I'd retire too. Then he goes, and in his first game with the Dolphins, he showed out last night. I was impressed with what we saw from Darren Waller. And now, if you are Mike McDaniel and you are this Dolphins team, you basically have to change your entire offensive profile. And guys like Darren Waller are going to obviously be a part of whatever this offense looks like going forward. As for the Jets, wow. 0-4. I mean, if you're a Jets-Mets fan, which they usually go in pairs, you do not like the city of Miami right now, because you went down to Miami with the Mets and got your you-know-what's kicked in by the Marlins, and then you're the Jets and you go down there and you have that happen. Yikes. It was a rough night for the Jets, Sam.
Yeah, keep telling me about how New York's a good sports town. I want to keep hearing about that, between what we saw at the Ryder Cup, what the Mets just did, and what the Jets put on last night. Move the franchise. Move the Mets, move the Jets. Send them to, like, Iowa. They deserve a team
we can just say the Jets belong to New Jersey. That's all. We'll just say the Jets really belong to New Jersey. You can have them, Sam. We'll talk about the Bengals next. We keep things moving on this Tuesday edition of the show. Happy MLB Postseason opening day to those of you celebrating like we are. All right, Sam Yarnell, we got game one out of the way of the Monday Night Football doubleheader. By the way, people like to pummel Chris Fowler. And I know at times maybe his voice is going a little bit. The first double, I like Chris Fowler. I'm good with Chris Fowler.
Yeah, what?
But people
why are people?
Oh, there are people that love to crush him online, and I don't understand why. And I know I shouldn't look at. I really have to unplug from social media a little bit, and it's hard when it's part of what I do for a living. But I really have to, because there's just so much negative out there. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I probably contribute to that negative because it's part of what we do for a living. We critique, we criticize, we give our opinions on things. But people like to crush Chris Fowler. And I love Chris Fowler. And I'm not just saying that. I mean that. I really love Chris Fowler.
I was going back and looking. I remember a couple of weeks ago, he did the Monday Night Football doubleheader, the first one of the season, with like no voice.
Yes.
And he was trending online.
Yes.
But it was because the guy they don't give him days off. It's like ESPN, they keep Chris Fowler like the Energizer Bunny. That guy went from, if you think about that guy's schedule, it's ridiculous.
I know.
You go from Wimbledon, right, to getting ready for college football, to college football, to the U.S. Open, back to college football, to the NFL, back to college football, back to the NFL. The guy's had like 2 days off since July 4th.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what they make this Chris Fowler guy do.
I agree.
He's the hardest working guy maybe in our whole industry.
Yeah, he is very hardworking, especially on the play-by-play side. But I want to talk about the Bengals and Broncos. There's no easy transition from Chris Fowler to the Broncos and the Bengals last night. And look, I know there is no cure in the world for a struggling offense than either playing the Dallas Cowboys or the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, if your offense is ailing, you want to go and play one of those two teams right now, who are just two of the doormats of defense in all of football. Sorry. So I mean, I'm not going crazy about the fact that the Broncos threw up the number they did last night, especially when the Bengals were basically throwing up all over themselves for 4 quarters last night, Sam. This, to me, is about the Bengals at this point. And what we have to start discussing is you are 4 weeks into the season. You are 2-2. This thing is still salvageable. But the only way you're going to do that is to do something big at the deadline. I don't know if it's bringing in a defensive piece. I don't know if it's bringing in a quarterback. Otherwise, you are telling your team on September 30th, you are telling your team in Cincinnati, and you are telling your fans in Cincinnati, we have given up on the season. And that to me is unacceptable when you have the talented pieces, not a talented overall roster, but talented enough pieces that you should be at least competitive. And that was a non-competitive football team on Monday night, Sam. And to me, that is unacceptable.
Yeah, the NFL's got to do something. They're going to have to step in. I heard someone say this last night. The NFL's got to step in and order Jameis Winston to the Cleveland or to the Cincinnati Bengals. They have to force a trade through. You know how you can do that? Well, you might not know this, but when you're playing Madden in the franchise mode,
I don't know
and
this.
Something really just needs to happen in the league, you can go in and push the wrong buttons that you shouldn't do because it's probably cheating, and you can force a trade through. That's what the NFL needs to do to get Jameis Winston in tiger stripes in Cincinnati. You want to see it. You don't know it yet, but you do. I want to see it. I do know it yet. We all want to see it. Jameis Winston, the Cincinnati Bengal, that team will score 55 points a game. He'll throw 4 interceptions a week. It's gonna be awesome. We'll all watch. You won't like it, but you'll watch, kind of thing. Yeah, that's really where I'm at with Cincinnati. Until they do that, until they get somebody besides Jake Browning, who, checks watch, is still leading the league in interceptions after having only played, 8 total quarters
Basically.
of the season? 9 maybe now? Yeah, they got to do something about him. They got to get him out of there. It was okay when we did it last season, not okay this year. I need Jameis in Cincinnati, Jason.
If not Jameis, I'm just trying to figure out what else there is. Obviously, Kirk Cousins we've talked about, but I'm not 100% convinced that the Falcons would make that deal, and the salary implications and wow. everything that comes with that. If not those guys, then who? I'm just sitting here racking my brain. Do you trade Russell? Well, don't say anybody, because then I could say Russell Wilson.
Sure.
No. We don't need. Don't do that to Cincinnati. Don't do that. Don't do that to. We like Cincinnati. I am a fan of Cincinnati. I think we're on in Cincinnati. We can't do that to Cincinnati. We can't do that.
Cincinnati's a great city. You ever had Skyline chili? The new Skyline and Graders collab just came out. I can't wait to try it. Those in Cincinnati will know what I'm talking about. But anybody but Jake Browning, Russell Wilson, sure, I don't care that the Cincinnati Bengals don't have an offensive line. Snap the ball, throw up the moon ball, let Jamar Chase and T. Higgins run under it. We've seen that work before.
I'm glad you bring this up, because I'm glad you just mentioned those names, because there was a point last night, might have been early fourth quarter, where they were showing Jamar Chase on the sideline, and the body language was just so negative. Yep. And you could just see the look in his eye. It was right. It was either end of third or early fourth, and they showed him on the sideline. And you're just looking at it, and you're trying to put yourself in that guy's shoes and in that guy's body, and knowing that the next 13 games are basically meaningless as this team is currently constituted. And I don't know. I just don't know what you do if you're this organization. Because even if you make a trade for Jameis Winston, you're basically, again, you go back to becoming what the Cowboys are, which is a team that's, could score 35 points every week and give up 36 points every week. That's essentially where we are with the Bengals right now, because that defense is horrible. They made Bo Nix and that Broncos offense, look like, the Kurt Warner Rams, for crying out loud. I mean, it was hard to watch. And you could hear it in Troy Aikman's voice when he was calling games. Like, this is just bad football. This isn't good football. We'll see what happens. We still got about a month till the trade deadline. Please, Cincinnati, please do something. Make yourselves relevant again. We're coming back. Lots more to do on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. NFL Weekend Leftovers coming up in 10 minutes, because who doesn't love some leftovers? We got to talk some baseball. And look, these next few days suck for us. I'll just give you a little peek behind the curtain. We put this show together late morning each day. And for those of you that understand, it means we have a... Look at Sam's face. For those that don't understand, that means by the time you're watching this, you're going to know some of what happened in the MLB postseason, because games start at 1 p.m. Eastern. Most of our affiliates don't start airing the show till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So take it all with a grain of salt. That being said, we want to be on the record with our postseason predictions. And not just betting stuff, but just in general who we think is going to win. Because there's a difference between great value betting and what we actually think is more likely to happen when it comes to the MLB postseason, Sam Yarnell. So here we are, Sam. The MLB postseason is here. All the conversation about, who's going to win the AL MVP is behind us, because there's no longer a debate in terms of what goes on the field, because the decisions have already been made. The votes have already been cast. So now we could actually just talk about this postseason, which has some really intriguing opening round matchups, Sam Yarnell. The wild card round getting underway today. Why are you giving me Tucker Carlson? Why are you giving me Tucker Carlson?
Is it okay if I pick it?
You go ahead.
I pick this bone?
You can. We've got a whole bunch of time.
In this modern era in which you and I live, the juncture at which we find ourselves in the space-time continuum of sports, why on earth are we still in 2025 having postseason day baseball games? They just feel like they don't mean as much. In a day and age where, like you saw last night, ESPN is perfectly capable of putting on two marquee, because those NFL games are horrible, but regardless, two marquee matchups or more at the same time. Why on earth are we starting these games so staggered and running them on throughout the entire day? It is so much easier than this. You have one start time at 5 p.m. Eastern or even 6 p.m. Eastern. You have the other start time at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Boom. You own all of prime time on both your networks, ABC and ESPN. Gosh, they should really start to pay me. But my goodness, maybe it makes more sense for those of you watching at home who go and sit in your cubicles all day and
do I have time for another bite
next to your computer?
Do I have time? Do I have time? Okay.
However, it just doesn't make sense to me in a day and age where networks seem to fight for prime time while we're splitting up this baseball all throughout the day.
You can keep going. I got to finish swallowing. I knew I was going to have time to take a bite of my sandwich, because I knew you were going to go for 2 minutes. So I was fine with that.
Well, it's stupid. Don't you think it's stupid?
First of all, I'm going to show my age here. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Day playoff baseball is like apple pie, man. It's as American as apple pie. Day playoff baseball. It's what we love. It's something I grew up with, and there are very few vestiges of baseball from 25 years ago. Very few that still exist. This is one of them. Can you let me and my old cold heart have just a little something? Can you allow me just that? Because I don't get much anymore. There isn't much. There isn't much that I have left to hang on to in this world. I've lost my hair. I've lost my self sense of worth. I've lost pretty much everything at this point. Let me hang on to some day baseball. I've lost 3.5-hour games that I used to love, and 4-hour games, and extra inning games that could go 17 and stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning watching. I've lost all of it. Can I just hang on to some day baseball, please? Now we've got 3 minutes to make predictions. So now we don't have tons of time. Tigers Guardians, who wins the series?
I like the Guardians. I love them.
I agree with you. I'd like to think the Tigers can hit the reset button now that it's the postseason. And it is a real advantage to have Skubal go in game one and get out to an early lead in that series. But I would tend to agree with you. I like the Tigers. Yankees, Red Sox. Who do you like in that series?
I like this series to go the distance. Give me Boston. I'll take Crochet.
If I don't take the Yankees, I would be disowned by Yankee fans.
It's the only
everywhere.
reason I took the Red Sox. I knew you'd take the Yankees.
Yeah, I would be disowned by Yankee fans everywhere. So I'll take the Yankees there. Reds and Dodgers.
I want to believe in the Reds. I really do.
Yeah,
I'm trying to as hard as I can. And no matter what I do, I still can't. They're so close. They're so close. Give me the Dodgers. I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, the Reds just have so much trouble scoring runs. And who knows? Maybe they can get to that. Your only hope is you get to that Dodgers bullpen, and maybe you could do some damage. Steal game one, maybe make the Dodgers sweat a little bit. That's the best opportunity you have there. Padres and Cubs.
Do I have to? I'll go with the Padres just because I like to believe in bullpens. It's tough. It's really hard. It's very difficult. Not easy. I'm running out of synonyms. Give me your pick.
Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? I am on the Cubs bandwagon. I always love rooting for the Cubs in the postseason because it's the Cubs. And who doesn't want it? I mean, who roots against the Cubs other than White Sox fans? Who roots against the Cubs? I don't even
think White Sox fans do it.
Yeah, they're kind of they're not like Mets fans. Like Mets fans, I always say this: Mets fans' idea of a successful season is any season where the Yankees don't win the World Series. I say it all the time. That's Mets fans' idea. The Red Sox are the same way. Well, the Yankees didn't win the World Series. You didn't win either. You know how many Mets fans I've seen in the last 48 hours say, well, don't worry, the Yankees will be right behind us in terms of, their postseason ending and not being able to win a World Series. They're going to get beat in the first round. Good luck with that.
Ah, yes, New York. Again, known good sports town where this happens. My gosh, I mean...
Gonna be fun though. Gonna be a fun series to watch. Mariners, Blue Jays, Brewers, Phillies, all with the bye. We're coming back. No bye for us. No, we've got some NFL to talk about. Weekend leftovers are next. Welcome back. 20 minutes from now, it's odds and ends. But in the meantime, who doesn't love leftovers? I've got a leftover sandwich right here that I'm munching on. And when Sam gets long-winded, as is prone to happen from time to time when he really gets fired up about something, I just go and take a couple of bites of the sandwich and fill the time that way. Fill my belly! All right, Sam Yarnell. There are people that would say, it's so rude and unprofessional of you to eat on camera. Hey, man, that's all the time I got sometimes. Sam Yarnell, weekend leftovers from the NFL to get into here. And I want to start with the Giants, who get their first win of the season. But much like the Dolphins, who got their first win of the season, lose an enormous piece of their offensive puzzle with Malik Neighbors going down with an ACL injury. The downside is you lost Malik Neighbors for the season. The good news for the Giants is Jackson Dart showed out in his first start for the Giants, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know.
Against a good defense, too. That Chargers defense is not chopped liver.
No question about it at all. I'm worried that this was the classic new quarterback bump. And I'm a Jackson Dart believer. But Jason, he won this game throwing for 111 yards. Like, he won the game, yes, and that is important. Wins are not a quarterback stat, but that is important that your team wins the game. Jackson Dart didn't play great. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's Brian Daboll's fault. I think that there's room to grow. I'm, again, still a Jackson Dart believer. I think he is the right answer for this franchise right now. But do I think that they're going to go on some magical playoff run, as is the talk in New York right now?
No. Who's saying that?
I don't.
Who's saying? There's nobody that thinks the Giants are going to go on some magic carpet ride here over the last.
Goodness.
Oh, who's do? And if they are, they should be, well, you know. He threw for 111 yards. He ran for 54. I told you all on Friday the reason I loved the under in this game. Why? They were going to play it safe with him in his first start. At some point, they're going to have to take the training wheels off. And if you believe everything we've been told about what Jackson Dart looks like in practice, now granted, those practices had Malik Neighbors in them. They no longer have Malik Neighbors in them. But if you believe what we've heard about what Jackson Dart is capable of doing with his arm, it's not going to be some game manager. This is not going to be some guy that's out there, just kind of, throwing screens in the flat, throw it away, that sort of thing. I don't think that's the ultimate plan here. I don't think we should go crazy off of the play designs in game one, understanding that they just want to let this kid get his feet wet. And he had to do it against a previously undefeated team, Sam.
Yeah, again, it's impressive. I think that the biggest thing to me in all of this is that he is a rookie quarterback in New York in MetLife Stadium who takes his team to a win, who does not make his team lose. That's important against what is one of the better teams in the NFL. Yeah. I'm not saying that we need to just be like, oh, Jackson Dart, he won the game. Yeah, whatever. No, there is inherent impressiveness about him winning that game and leading that team to victory. But let's not pretend that he was slinging the pill all over the yard, because he wasn't.
I'm certainly not. Niners lose Brock Purdy again. And this time they lost him in a loss. We saw what Jacksonville was able to do with the Jags now at 3-1 on the season. All of a sudden you turn around and the Colts, who looked so impressive, who then lose in week 4, are now tied with those Jacksonville Jaguars atop the AFC South. And that might actually wind up being a fun little race between those two teams when you consider what we've seen defensively from the Jaguars over the first 4 weeks, Sam. The story, though, is the Niners, and probably going back to Mac Jones, who a lot of people say would have gotten the start in week 4 had he actually been healthy.
Should have. Again, I will go back to my original point about Brock Purdy when he originally got injured this season. I would be nervous if I was him, and I think he probably is. Listen, from a Niners perspective, it's hard to win any game where you turn the ball over 4 times. I'm sorry, it's the fact of the matter in the NFL. You fumble twice, you throw 2 interceptions, you're probably not going to win that game. It's just something that you have to accept as a member of the NFL community. Brock Purdy looked bad, downright bad in this game. I know that the numbers were there because, they had to air the ball out to try and keep up with Jacksonville, but my goodness, he didn't look good. And again, I will go back to this point. If I am Brock Purdy, I am nervous for my job. I know they just gave him all this money. Well, here's the fact of the matter about that. It's the NFL. They can take it back pretty freaking quickly. And right now, Mac Jones is the cheaper option, and they're winning games with Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan always wanted Mac Jones. I think it's time for the Mac Militia in San Francisco. Like, I think it's time. Go all in on Mac Jones. Just forget that the whole Brock Purdy thing ever happened. It was a waste of a 7th-round pick who was a flash in the pan with a lot of talent around him. Mac Jones could be the guy.
There's a lot of people saying that. And there's a lot of the idea of, Brock Purdy was a good game manager with good players around him. There's a lot of noise right now around this San Francisco team coming out of this loss. The only thing I'll say, I'll play contrarian here for a second, and I will admit that I am playing contrarian in advance because a lot of what you said is very true. It was his first game back after missing a couple of games.
It's true.
And I'm sure they're taking that approach, especially because of how much money they're paying him. If he wasn't making as much as he was, I do think this would be an easy decision for Kyle Shanahan, and it would be Mac Jones. That's the starting quarterback. Hey, we've got more weekend leftovers from the NFL to get you, and we'll get to them next. We wrap it up with odds and ends 10 minutes from now. There was some big managerial news in baseball yesterday, and I want to get to it. Because if you connect the dots, there's a very obvious move that could be coming for one team that was hoping to be a contender in 2025. Maybe they'll be a contender in 2026. We'll have to see. We'll get to all of that. But right now, Sam, I want to give us some more NFL leftovers from the weekend. Yum. And let's talk about a couple other games that caught my attention, and one of them is a team we mentioned in the last segment, and that was the Colts, who, look, I feel for the kid who, is running down the sideline, because it wasn't like he was starting his celebration or anything like that. The ball just fell out of his hands. And granted, you have to do a better job protecting it, and when you look at the final score of this game, you could sit there and say, well, they lost because of that play. 27-20, Rams beat Indianapolis. So I'm not going to go too crazy as far as that conversation is concerned. Daniel Jones, 24 of 33, 262, a touchdown, a couple of interceptions. Yes, Indianapolis. It's going to happen from time to time with Daniel Jones. It's not going to be all sunshines and roses. Matt Stafford, 29 of 41 for 375, the 3 touchdowns in the win. A little bit of a smack in the face of reality for Indianapolis, who has won some crazy close games over the first few weeks of the season. So them losing this game in Los Angeles, not a complete surprise to me, Sam. But wanted to get your thoughts on what we saw in Los Angeles with the Rams picking up the win.
This is a game that the Colts should have won. It is. It's a game that the Colts should have won. You mentioned the AD Mitchell fumble. Tough that it's the second year in a row that exact thing has happened to this franchise.
Isn't that crazy?
Last year with Jonathan Taylor, yes, and this year with AD Mitchell. But man, like they should have won this game. The 88-yard touchdown from Stafford to Tutu Atwell down late in the fourth quarter was just some of the worst blown coverage from a defense that's been solid so far this year. It was confusing. And I just remember watching this game and thinking, and even after they got the ball back after that touchdown and looked deflated, it was like I was watching this game thinking right on from the AD Mitchell fumble. It was like, man, they should really win this game, and they're not gonna. So concern, I don't know. I really, this is a head scratcher for me, because this is a game where I don't know if there are two ways that you can kind of take it. It's one of them is, all right, well, the Colts are showing you they're an unserious football team. They get to a serious moment, they can't take it seriously, they're an unserious football team. But the other side of that is like, it's a very, very unique bounce of the ball to go against them. To have a freak fumble go out of the back of the end zone, and then a punt fest that ultimately leads to a lone strike. Like it was just a very weird game because of that one bounce of the ball. So I don't know what to make of this game, Jason. It's a head scratcher for me. I'm going to need another week on both of these teams.
By the way, Puka Nacua, 13 for 170 in that game. What's the matter?
No, it's ridiculous what that guy's been doing this year.
Yeah.
I saw a stat the other day, and now I'm not going to get it right. I believe it was yesterday. The gap between Puka Nacua, who is the leading wide receiver in the NFL, and like the third leading wide receiver in the NFL is the same gap between that third leading wide receiver in the NFL and like the 10th wide receiver in the NFL. It is incredible how good Puka Nacua has been this year. Very underrated because of how talented that team is. But man, he might set some records.
Steelers and Vikings in Dublin. Steelers are 3-1. I mean, go look at the top of the AFC North right now. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers through the first 4 weeks of the season, and they're not even really getting a ton out of Aaron Rodgers right now. I know everybody's like, the longest pass in the history of the European game or the international series. Yes, a lot of that was rack yards. Let's be honest about that. You know what this team reminds me of, though? And I meant to say this last week, and I wish I did. And maybe other people are saying this because I don't listen to what most people say because I think most people, well, anyway. To me, this Steelers team feels like and I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. It feels like the Broncos in their Super Bowl year with Peyton Manning.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll tell you why. That team, even though it was Peyton Manning, future Hall of Fame quarterback, it was watered down Peyton Manning. It was Peyton Manning at the end of his career where he had to basically put himself in a body cast each week just to play football. And you knew you weren't going to get a ton out of him. Aaron Rodgers is out there and he's going to make smart plays. He's going to make the right plays most of the time. And all they need is capable, competent play at the quarterback position. Combined with that defense, they're going to play a lot of close games. They're going to win a lot of those close games because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to make the critical mistake in a lot of those moments. That's going to, and look, when you look at that division right now, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns, would you really pick against the Steelers right now to win that division? I wouldn't.
Yes, I would very hard. Here's the difference between this team and those Broncos teams, right? Those Broncos teams had no Sean Moreno standing behind Peyton Manning who they could hand it off to at any point. The Steelers don't have a run game. They're relying on Kenny Gainwell. Yet no. Those Broncos teams had Julius and Demaryius Thomas, two great pass catchers. This Steelers team has DK Metcalf. No, this is a team who beat the New York Jets by 2 points, lost by 2 touchdowns to Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, and then beat Drake May and the New England Patriots before beating Carson Wentz and the Vikings in Dublin.
You love Carson Wentz.
I'm selling so hard on the Steelers right now.
I'm not selling on the Steelers. I think they win the division now. I would absolutely, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, the odds on them, but I would take the Steelers to win the division. We got odds and ends around the corner. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Before we say goodbye, a couple of reminders. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Amazon, Odyssey. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday. Maybe you're driving to work, you can't watch, you don't have time. Everybody's day is busy. You can listen to it on a plane, train, automobile. You can actually watch it if you're on a plane or a train as well. But you can also listen, and we're okay with that. 45 minutes commercial free. I hope you will check it out. In addition to that, you can watch us on over 270 affiliates across the U.S. and Canada. Don't forget our friends in Canada. We love you guys. And in doing so, I would encourage you. In fact, I would implore you to go and check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. The show is there for you to watch Monday through Friday, commercial free, 45 minutes. You get to see all of this. Yeah, I know that you're hitting the button right now to subscribe. Make sure to go and do that. Subscribe. We appreciate it. Sports Wrap shorts are there as well. If you have not seen Sports Wrap shorts, I would encourage you. If you're not following me on TikTok, if you're not following me on Insta, if you're not following us on our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, go and subscribe. Sports Wrap Shorts is a great way to keep up with everything going on in sports. Sometimes news breaks and we're not able to get it into the show because of the time we put the show together every day. Sports Wrap Shorts are always there. News breaks, we're on Sports Wrap Shorts talking about it. So go and check that out as well. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. An interesting day in the managerial world in Major League Baseball yesterday, and there's some news today. So let's get to it. First off, you had and we mentioned it at the very end of the show yesterday, so some of you may not have caught it. Bob Melvin out as manager of the San Francisco Giants. He's basically a 500 manager for 2 seasons. I think he was like 4 games under 500 for his 2 years there. Now, something to keep in mind here, and I think it deserves mentioning. Buster Posey said he was going to be back as manager. He had given him a vote of confidence just a few months ago when the Giants were struggling then. Apparently that word of Buster Posey doesn't mean a heck of a lot because now he goes and he fires him, saying they need a different voice. Where have you heard that before? Boy, he's only been a GM for a year and he's already picked up the lingo. So that's what you got from Buster Posey as it relates to Bob Melvin. And I'm not a big Melvin fan one way or another, but the guy has won games in a couple of different spots. And I wouldn't necessarily blame him for the fact that this team and this management team put together a heck of a roster and it just underachieved. Sometimes you can't blame that on the manager. If you're a Yankee fan, you can, but you can't do it necessarily in the case of the Giants. What makes this more interesting, though, is this guy, Bruce Bochy. If you haven't seen, Bruce Bochy on Monday night was let go parted ways with the Texas Rangers. They said it was a mutual parting of ways. Now, he's 70 years old, so some people would say, oh, all right, that's probably his last managerial job. He doesn't sound like a guy that's ready to walk into the sunset and go sit on a beach somewhere. He sounds like he still wants to manage, which leads you to the obvious, which is he gets let go by the Rangers. Melvin gets let go by the Giants. Buster Posey decides to place a phone call, in my opinion. This is where I'm interjecting my thoughts. To Bruce Bochy and says, hey, let's get the band back together. Let's try and see if we can win another World Series in San Francisco together. Bruce Bochy, back to the Giants. It just seems to make all the sense in the world to me right now. I can't see why he wouldn't do it if he still wants to manage. And you know Buster Posey, that would be the first call he places. It'd be a popular move with the fan base that's obviously disenchanted right now with a franchise that's sort of stuck in mud, stuck in, third gear. They're not one of the worst teams in baseball by any stretch, but they're a team that just can't get over the hump and make noise in that National League where it's so tough because you have the Dodgers and Padres within your own division that are so good. So you're already up against it game 1 of 162 when you consider the Padres are going to be good every year. The Dodgers are going to be, monsters of that division every year. And Arizona's been no slouch either. They almost made the playoffs this year even after being sellers at the trade deadline. It still makes sense to me, though, that ultimately Bruce Bochy lands with the Giants. They say the Rangers have offered him an advisor position with the organization. If the Giants offer him that job, I think Bochy goes back to the Bay Area. Last but not least, on the managerial front, Rocco Baldelli out as manager of the Minnesota Twins. Not incredibly shocking. 70-92 on the season was the Minnesota Twins. They dealt with a bunch of injuries, and that obviously is something that didn't sit well, obviously, with management there. Baldelli, 527 and 505 in 7 seasons, by the way. Third winningest manager in Twins history behind Tom Kelly and Ron Gardenhire. I don't think he'll have a hard time finding a job somewhere else. In fact, wouldn't shock me if it was the Texas Rangers that placed a phone call to Rocco Baldelli. You go from, the older manager in Bruce Bochy to a younger guy in Rocco Baldelli. Wouldn't surprise me if they did that. That's going to wrap it up for us on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. Enjoy the playoff baseball. That's what we'll be doing all day here in the Sports Wrap studios. Sam's off tomorrow, so it's going to be me and a whole bunch of other people not named Sam. I can promise you that. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your Tuesday. I'm Jason Page. Bye-bye.